This morning on the Jersey Magazine, I want to welcome Annie Rodriguez. Annie is a digital sales and marketing manager for Beasley Media, the company that owns WDHA. And while you may not recognize Annie's name, you're very familiar with her work if you've been on our website or our social media platforms, because Annie designs a number of the different graphics that you see. Most recently, the Toys for Tots campaign drive that we did at the end of 2022. And in fact, the logo for this show you can see over my left shoulder if you're watching on video, the Jersey Magazine. Annie, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
You got some tough news right before Christmas last year. Tell our listeners about that.
So I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer right before Christmas. I'm just 42. I went for my very first mammogram and bingo, I had breast cancer. So it was literally the Christmas Eve is when I got the full diagnosis.
I mean, that's devastating news when you hear it, no matter what time of year it is. But to get it as you approach the holidays had to be even more daunting for you and your family.
Yeah, it was hard because it was not only Christmas, but we were leaving for Disney World with my family on Christmas Day. So on top of all this news, I have a very close family, so everyone is very involved. And we were leaving and I had to tell my immediate family, but I couldn't tell extended family. I'm like, how do you say, hey, Merry Christmas, I have breast cancer? And I was like, I had to push it until after the holiday had passed and after we came back from our vacation, and tried to put it out of my mind for just a little bit.
Did you have any idea before that first mammogram that something might be a little off?
I did. I for the longest time, I pushed you're supposed to get your first mammogram at 40. And I don't have any history of it. I had no issues with it. I had no problems ever before with my breast. So I was like, it's fine. And so in September, I noticed a change. One side was a little bigger than the other. And most people are like, oh, that's normal. One side is bigger than the other. But this was not the case. It was slightly larger. There's a little bit more discomfort in it. It just felt a little bit like just tender. And then it was fine for a little bit. And then I noticed a slight change in the way my skin started looking. And it didn't feel right. And I had a harder top of my one side. I went to my doctor. She said, you might have just dense tissue there. A lot of women do. And then I scheduled my appointment. They booked it like 2 months in advance. I didn't think anything of it. And then in I go, and they find a lot of mess in there. So it's a little bit more, it was more than I was anticipating. I thought something was wrong, but I didn't realize to the extent.
I know from personal experience with my own family, when you hear those 3 words, you have cancer, you generally don't hear anything else that comes out of a doctor's mouth. It sounds like the parents in Charlie Brown or the teacher. Womp, 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 womp. So when you got that diagnosis and you heard those words for the first time, what was your reaction?
I literally got a pit in my stomach, and like you said, I couldn't hear another word. It was the person who called me was a radiologist after she had read after I had gotten biopsies. But even the week before, this woman never met me, and she looked at my reports and she hugged me, and I went, like, I was like, you don't know me. I haven't gotten tested, nothing yet. And she knew from that moment. And it was like, it really was. It was like everything else was a blur. All I heard was cancer. And in my head, I'm like, I have kids. I can't have cancer. I'm not supposed to. And that was literally all I could hear. It took some time to get to that understanding of what stage and what level and everything about it. But for about 2 weeks, all I could do, I had cancer.
I was going to ask you, how long a period of time did it take you to process the news?
About 2 weeks. I mean, it was just shocking.
Once I don't know that you adjust to hearing it or the understanding of it, but once it finally settled in, what was your reaction then? How did you deal with it with your husband? Have you told your kids yet? Are they aware? Because they're young.
Yeah, they're young. They're 7 and 9. I told my husband first, which was very hard because his mother had breast cancer. So she's in remission. She was survived and everything, but it's still like, to hear your wife has cancer is not what you want to hear. I told him, I told my mother, she happens to live with us. And I did tell my children, and I needed them, because hearing it, they're going to hear it all around them. I didn't want to lie to them. I don't feel it's something I should have kept hidden from them. And, you know, as we all, especially as children, you hear the word cancer, you think my mom's going to die. And I needed them to understand, I do have cancer. I'm not going to die, but it's going to be a lot of changes. And I needed my daughter to know that mommy's probably going to lose her hair, and be prepared for all of that in enough time. And I think doing that helped me prepare myself in the same way, and letting them know that it's okay to be scared, because mommy's scared. And they've been a very big strength to me. Just being able to kind of explain it on their level really does make a difference in my own sanity doing that. But it's really hard to tell my siblings and the extended family. It was just like, every time I said the word breast cancer, I get more and more emotional about it, because it makes it more real every person I tell.
Annie Rodriguez is my guest this morning. She is a digital sales and marketing manager for Beasley Media, the company that owns WDHA. And as we've been talking about, just before Christmas, received a diagnosis of stage 2 breast cancer. And we're talking about that, the process that you go through with that. My mom had developed breast cancer. She was in her early 70s, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember being in the doctor's office with her. And now I knew that she had cancer, but I'm still trying to process what's going on. And Annie, we sat there with this first doctor, and he's looking at my mom and he goes, well, you know, at your age, we'll try to do what we can, and we'll make you sure you're comfortable. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, this guy's writing my mother off. Like, are you kidding me? And so we left the office, and I don't remember what I said to my mom. I remember being very upset. She didn't say much. That I do remember. When I called a mutual friend of ours who's a doctor but doesn't deal with cancer, and I said, you got to find another doctor for us, because this isn't going to work. I need somebody who's going to treat my mom like he or she would his or her mom.
Yep.
Not a patient or a number. We found another doctor within a few weeks, and this guy could not have been better for my mom. You know, we walk in and he looks at her and he goes, you're only 72. Look at you. You know, you're this, you're that, you're upbeat, all of this. And the two of us walked out of there going, she's going to beat this.
Yeah.
And she did for 18 years, my mom. And it wasn't ultimately cancer that my mom died from, but she beat it. And, her attitude alone, and then the right medical team makes all the difference. And I'm sure, as you go through this journey with the various doctors that you've got to deal with, you're going to find that.
I honestly, the ones I've dealt with already are phenomenal. I mean, I'm going through an awful situation. I'm going to have a really long, probably year to 18 months, but like, if I'm going to have to deal with it, my doctors have been so warm and supportive. And the first thing, they've never even met me. And the plastic surgeon said, so we're here to get you on the other side of this, huh? And I was like, yes. I was like, thank you. And even my breast surgeon, when she met me, she's like, why are you in my office? You should not be here. Like, and she's like, her nurse there said the best words that came out of this woman's mouth were, we're the nicest people you never want to come see. And that 100% has been the team I've had so far. And my surgery is coming up, but I feel confident in them, because it's just that warm, like, yeah, we're getting you through this. Like, yes, it's going to be an awful road to get there, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be not fun, none of it. But by this time next year, we're going to be on the other side. And like you said, with your mother, the same thing. It's like, you just need the right team you need a team, like a team, your team. And that's been making the biggest difference for me so far.
One of the things that you've also chosen to do is to chronicle your journey through an online blog. What prompted you to do that?
I have a very large family and friend group. I'm very lucky in that aspect. So I have a very big village that's following it, wants to know everything that's happening. So there were multiple reasons for me to do this. Originally, I was just going to do an Instagram page and that I'd keep people posted of where I was in my journey. But then I felt like I needed to blog it and write it down. One, for myself, because I needed to remember each of these moments and the hard things that I went through and the funny parts and everything that I was feeling so that I never forgot it. Two, for my daughter to be able to see what kind of mom she has and the struggle that I went through so that she could see that. And then three, for, my family, friends, but also other people who might be going through the same thing that I'm going through and who could use someone who is like, hey, this is the weirdest stuff. And what does this mean? And what is that? And finding some of the humor, because it's not all awful. There's a reason for this. And I want to find that. And if I can help one person save one more life, then at least I've done that job. So it made all the sense that I've gotten this for a reason.
Now, you haven't actually started the treatment yet, correct?
No, not yet. My surgery is actually next week.
What have you learned about yourself through this whole process, whether it's, just the journey itself or chronicling it on an online blog? What have you learned about yourself?
That I'm a lot stronger than I knew I was. I didn't realize I was going to be as strong as I am. I mean, I've been told by that from people always tell me, oh, you're strong, you're a tough girl. I'm like, but I am an emotional person. I'm a very emotional person. But the doctors have even commented on the fact that my attitude has been so positive because I don't have a choice but to be positive. And that part of it, I think me making that choice has been something about myself that I'm proud of, because I don't have time to sit and cry about it every second because it's not going to change my diagnosis. But if I look at it in a positive world, in a positive way, that I can spin it that way, then I feel better. And I'm hoping that will influence other people's thoughts. When you hear that word cancer, it's not a death sentence. So I'm pretty proud of the fact that I've done that and been comfortable doing that so far. I mean, it was a rough road. I mean, the hardest part was cutting my hair off. And when I knew I had to get chemo, I was like, I needed control, and something I can control in this whole crazy thing that I'm going through.
I like the way you said that. You need something that you can control, because there's a lot that's going to happen to you over the next year and a half, whatever, going forward, that you're not able to control.
No, I'm putting it in the trust of someone else. I'm putting my entire future in life in these hands of people I literally just met in the past 3 weeks. And the only thing I could control was that I've never cut my hair this short, but I can do this for myself before it comes out on its own after chemo. And I just needed that part, that little bit, as well as writing this blog. These are the things I can control. This is what I can do. And then I'll put the rest of my life into these amazing team that I have right now of hands.
What were your kids' reactions when they saw the shorter hair?
They both were like, oh, now, but they were a little thrown off too. And they're like, but we really like it. And my daughter has very long blonde hair, and she's like, I want to cut mine. So I'm pretty proud of her, because she's never cut her hair, because she's the same way me. It's like, we are long hair people. And she's like, can we cut mine too? I said, so we're going to try to do that this weekend so she can have it cut like mommy's.
That's great. That's great. It really is. Annie Rodriguez, my guest this morning here at 105.5 WDHA. I know I thanked you via email after you did the logo for Jersey Magazine, but I should do it in public because I really, really like it. What I had done was I had sent Annie an idea, a very rough idea. Here's what the show is about, and here's what I'm kind of looking for. And you nailed it. You perfectly nailed it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. That's what I like to meet. I have a creative mind, so usually just give me a thought, what you're thinking, and I try to get into that headspace for it.
How much do you anticipate really diving into work through all of this?
I will be doing work throughout the time. I need to. I'm creative. I kind of need to have that outlet. So that's one of those things that, even talking to my doctors, they're like, so what do you do? I said, well, I design a lot. I do a lot of digital marketing. So they're like, I can get back into it pretty soon on, just to at least give me that sense of normalcy.
Photoshop or Illustrator? What's your
Photoshop. I'm very comfortable in Photoshop. Just I'm faster in Photoshop than I am in Illustrator.
Yeah,
I've been
me
using
too.
it for like 20 years. So
We've mentioned your blog a couple of times, and I'll let our listeners know what it is. It's Pink Mama on Tap. And you can look that up and follow Annie and her family, because they're going to be a big part of this.
yeah, they are.
The journey going forward. And knowing you as I do through work, I know you're going to come out on the other side of this, because I know what your attitude is, and I know what kind of a little fighter you are.
Yep. I have no time for losing.
We've got work to do.
Yeah, I got work. It's got too much stuff going on here.
I have 2 kids to raise. I got a husband. I got work.
So I keep saying, I'm like, I have 2 kids. There's no time for this. We got to get through this quick. So when they moved up my surgery, I said that, you know what, good, because I need to get started on this journey and get me to the end of it, so I'm finished.
Yeah, the sooner you start. I remember, with my mom, I had referenced her earlier when she went in for her surgery. It's once we processed the information, it was like, well, let's do this now. Why are we waiting? This is attacking your body. But, all in due time. And obviously the doctors know what they're doing. And it sounds as if you have an amazing team of doctors with you.
Yeah, absolutely do. They've been fantastic. They've just been following through, and I hear from them almost every day. Somebody from one of the offices calls me every day, if not to just check in to make sure I've heard things. So if you're going through this, and find yourself a team like that, because that makes all the difference.
PinkMamaOnTap.com is the blog, and I love the mug that you have there that says,
"Thank you,
you're perfect."
Yeah, that my sister got me that right when I got the diagnosis. So,
Andy, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your story. And we'll continue to follow up with you here on the Jersey Magazine. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you so much. I hope to hear from you. But yeah, again, follow me on PinkMamaOnTap.com.